Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a great evening. We're supposed to warm up like the rest of the United States for a week or two, 10 days, get at least seasonal temperatures where we have been below normal, like most of the United States has been. This global warming is tough. Historically, if you go back and look at civilization down through ages and down through time, when the world has experienced some global warming, pre-SUV, pre-industrialization, humanity prospered. More crops, more food, less disease. As you know, very difficult to catch a cold and flu in the middle of the summer. Not impossible. So I'm all for global warming, if you know what I mean. And I think we all should be. But that would be against current government policy. And one of the things that people don't fully appreciate, when the federal government, through research grants, funds the bulk of the studies that are done at state and private universities, state schools anyway. And if you want to keep getting the money year in and year out, you're going to come to conclusions that the government wants you to come to. You'll find a way to do it. And the people that write these reports and do these studies for the government under their guidelines and their assumptions and fit the data to get the conclusion that the government wants, their livelihoods are dependent upon it. So that is probably the biggest incentive. And then if you add ideological bents or bias to it, it can become even worse. So that's what we're up against these days, and everybody's on the same page, and we see it in economic forecasting. We see it everywhere, and you cannot cross the government without feeling the consequences, and they come after you these days. So we just have to, it's hard to know who to believe or what to believe anymore, but that's the beauty of the profile. We really are in a situation where we don't have to know who's doing it. We don't have to know why they're doing it. We can just see that they are doing it, and we can act accordingly. And that, that's just kind of where we are these days, and that's what we have to put up with. So we can prosper is my point. That's what this is all about. We finished the webinars. The first two of them are done. They're going to be put up on the website. The one we did yesterday should be done by tomorrow night, so all three of them should be up on the website this weekend for your study. Remember, for those of you that have just taken the course, that it takes 7 times to make something yours, and then you got to practice it. You got to be able to recognize it. So this is the start of a journey. It's the start of a process that can make you a trader if you have the personality that will allow you to be a trader. Some people don't. So that's where we are. Okay, this new distribution down started from the 26-24 area. We've been pulled to this high volume area in the 12 spot. Down below, we've got pretty good support at the buck, but the best support is in the 25. The 24-25 area, 25-20 to 24 area. So 25-20 to 26 even is where we should expect to see some support. We came into the market last night wanting to sell failure to take out 10 to 14, the highest 13. We had hoped to buy the 1 to 5 area, didn't get close to it. The overnight session low is 8.5, and that's where we find ourselves right now. The biggest news event today, and it probably is a non-event, is the ECB and Bank of England's rate announcements. Also, both of those are out now. They should be no change in current policy. The Bank of England can talk about dissent on the vote with the current policy, and will probably allude to raising interest rates in 2015. No changes are expected out of the ECB. They will allude quantitative easing sometime in 2015. So Draghi's been a master at supporting the market and getting what he wants done through rhetoric, and that's what the market really expects from him today. They're looking for sometime in 2015 being open to the idea of purchasing sovereign debt. So if he talks in terms of buying government bonds, taking them off the bank's balance sheets, there's $1.2 trillion worth of bad debt in Europe's bad banking system. Then the selling in the euro will accelerate. Talk already today of the yen going to 120, next stop 145 to the dollar. Talk of the euro headed quickly to 120, no matter what happens today. So the biggest impact is probably going to be on the euro dollar, the euro this morning. But this is today's biggest news event. Tomorrow's non-farm payroll, 230K. And that number would be supportive for the indexes, not so for financials. And this tends to hold the market in check. So I don't think anything's changed. We see resistance at 12 to 16, so the sell's 11 to 15, sell 1. Second sell is 19 to 23. On the structural sell up here, you're shorting 21s, 20.5s. On the buy side, I think there's really good support in this 1 to 5 area. I'd like to start out at 1 to 5. We've got jobless claims to get through. Then we will adjust after that. It might be just like yesterday, 5 to 9. I'd like to get it done at the low end of the range, though. Then we'll go 29 to 25. The short is a trade that you have to put on in a hurry. I think we have plenty of time to be buyers this morning. Interesting article I put into the room. The Federal Reserve, who has been operating through Citadel, I put the price list up there, has been given. They're given rates to clear and to trade 35% below the rest of the market and the rest of the world. You see these 100,000, 150,000 orders to the buy side almost always, never to the sell side. That go through Citadel, and that is our Fed acting. But central banks around the world can do it too. One thing that drives an exchange is volume. If they can increase volume, they're all for it. It's not a form of capital cronyism per se outright, but it's an indirect way. And it's hard to see that once the exchange has experienced that kind of volume that they won't lobby hard to make sure that central banks from here on out can trade futures, options on futures, different derivatives. Once something is allowed the first time, it's damn near impossible to get rid of it. Special interest groups are created. Those special interest groups are prospering by government action. They've got the money to fund the lobbyists. They've got the money to fund those politicians that directly vote for the programs that they are enjoying, and they do. And if you can get pennies or tenths of pennies from everybody in the United States on a regular basis, all concentrated and funneled to you, that's exactly what you do. And you can look at it in the sugar beet industry. You can look at it in ethanol. It's just all around us, and it's the way that it works. You get me elected to office with campaign contributions, and I will pass laws that benefit you. You're available for me to call and get $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 at the drop of a hat. I'm going to listen to your requests. And that's the way that it works. In the private world, it's called bribery. In the public world, where they exempt themselves from a lot of law that are imposed on others, it's called campaign contributions. It's called secure jobs. If I've done your bidding for many years, either as a lobbyist or on some of the large corporations that do a great deal of business in Washington, D.C. It is the way of the world, and if we were given those opportunities, it might be hard for us to say no if you get right down to it. I mean, I kind of like the fat, dumb, and happy side of life. That hasn't been my experience, but when I do get in those situations where I can be fat, dumb, and happy for a while, it's not bad living. My point is, it's human nature, and it's really, really difficult to go against human nature. And a great deal of what we do in the room and why we're as good as we are at making our calls directionally is that we know the expected reaction. We know how humans are going to react to news. That's the constant that we trade off of. And then when they do act in accord with the news, we know what to do. And when they don't act in accord with the news, we know what to do. So the hardwired constant that we follow is human nature, and it works well for us. Yeah, fat, dumb, and happy is pretty nice. Those few times I've been able to experience fat. Actually, never fat, but chubby. Never really been out of shape, but there's times I've been quicker and faster than other periods in my life. I think we all go through that. And you know, one of the neat things about getting older is that you don't as hard on yourself as you used to be about a few extra pounds. It's just kind of, you know, winter I usually fatten up going into winter, or getting ready to get into summer I usually slim down going into summer, and just kind of learn to live with yourself. That constant internal beratement quiets down quite a bit. Okay, we're going to sell 8 to 10 where we wanted to get in last night, then 15 to 18 if we happen to get above that. On the buy side, basically we're buying 1195s to 1200 in gold. The ECB announcement can turn this market on its edge, so have to be careful for that. When Draghi picks up the mic at 8:30, that's where we have the most exposure to quick moves in gold. If he talks about, yes, we will be buying government bonds, I would imagine gold would rally. If he says, no way we're buying government bonds, and we're going to require really rigorous bank examination and capitalization, and gold will probably trade at lower. Don't see how he can do that, though, with the banks. Okay, we liked last night. We wanted to buy 123. We thought that that was probably a reasonable target. Stops below 123. We didn't think the market would break. We said the high would probably come in London, and you can see the high right here. Did come in London plus P period. So we had a sell yesterday, 20 to 30, and we wanted to buy 123 even, plus or minus. So pretty hard to beat that call in the euro. Now, there's not a lot of action in the euro because of Draghi's announcement and news conference at 8:30 Eastern, 2:30 his time. So we'll just have to see what the news brings. There are $1,000 moves associated with quite often with when he picks up the mic. It's not guaranteed, but buy stopping or sell stopping, you won't like your fill. And if you don't get a $1,000 move, you wish you hadn't taken the trade, but it's there more often than not. So we know what he's supposed to say. So you know the news, you got the trade. It's just that simple. And you have $1,000 potential when he picks up the mic if he says the right or the wrong thing. So we got support at 23. After the news, and I don't even know if it does any good to put these numbers out, 22. So if we break this market at 23, 22 even would be a great place, say 22.05 for a limit buy. 23.90, say 2400 plus or minus 5, be a great place for a limit sell, and everything in between probably doesn't count. I mean, you can't make the call. Structurally, if there was no news, we'd be looking to sell 20 to 30, then 40 to 50, just exactly where we were yesterday. 23 would be buy 1, and 22.75 would be buy 2. But that's not the case. We have a big major piece of news. I think we're headed for 120. And if they really break it today and we see 120, 122, probably going to make it before the year's end. Goldman said 125 by this end, 120 by the end of 2015. They don't screw around in the futures market. If that's what the expectations are, they get to it usually within a couple, 3 months. Saudi Arabia has said 60 bucks is okay. The market always goes farther than you expect it to go, so probably 50 to 60 is reasonable support. That's kind of where the industry, those that have old production, see the market settling out. Stops below 50 are certainly in play. Boone Pickens has said we're going to 100 bucks. If the economy around the world starts to grow, stabilize and starts to grow again, 100 bucks is certainly in the picture. That's not too hard to get to. 75 right now is pretty clean break in the market, so definitely finding sellers below 70. Yesterday we went into it wanting to sell 50 to 75, and then 68 even, 68 and a quarter. Number 2 held. Number 1 buy point yesterday was 66.75, 67. Number 2 resistance. Number 1 support. Drive that into your brain, and that's the significance of these levels. Here we have single prints down here. The breakout came at 66.50, so stops below 50, so 66 and a quarter, 66.50 buy 1, buy 2, 75 to the buck. On the sell side, 25 to 50, it's very, very aggressive. That would be on the first rotation up, it holds, then you can take that trade. On the second rotation up, you probably would question that a little bit. Then all the way back up to 68, 68 and a quarter. Got to give it some room on these first rotations, so the 67 and a quarter is very, very aggressive. The 8 to 8 and a quarter is not. Okay, I imagine, again, the stock market is probably on hold for tomorrow's numbers, but the bias and the direction is up, and every time we make a new high, we tend to get 1, sometimes 2 days worth of selling. We've got tomorrow's non-farm payroll numbers at 2:30 to get through, and that tends to freeze the market. So selling failure to take out 75, 76. This again is the easiest trade to see. Don't have a lot of volatility. Volumes are down. Sell 2 will be 79 to 80. On the buy side, we'd like to get it done in this high volume area, 65 to 67. So based on the 70, this last rotate down stopped at 70, then prior to that 68. So 70 plus or minus 1 is buy 1. Buy 2 is 65 to 67. I think we've got a chance to get down to that 65, 67 because of this attractor and the fact that when the market makes a new high, it usually corrects the next day. So we'll play for that. But early in the session, it might take a 71 or so to get into the market to retest the high at 75, 76. Okay, it'll take at least 20 minutes to get everything done. I got started a little slowly this morning. Long week already. I'll see you as soon as I can.